Good evening. Welcome. Oh boy, that's a better sound system than we're accustomed to. Welcome to the City Council Chambers, City of Marshalltown. Today's date's July 25, 2022. The time's 5:30 p.m. And we are calling the meeting to order right now with this proviso that the mayor and council welcome comments from the public during discussion of the items on the agenda. To speak, step to the mic, state your name and address for the record, and limit your time to present to 3 minutes so that others may be given a similar opportunity to talk. All speakers are to speak clearly, direct your comments to the mayor and council in general and not to any councilors specifically. It is at the discretion of the mayor and council to respond to those questions or comments or to have staff respond during the meeting. With that said, those are able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Hoop.
Here.
Isom.
Here.
Kell.
Here.
Lottie Schneider.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Very good. Full house. Just I have to mention, I just noticed as we were doing the pledge that we now have something behind us that really is attractive. And so those we're streaming to, and we have a better sound system than we're accustomed to typically. We're finally getting recovered from all of the changes made after the derecho and tornado. So good to see that. Are there any comments that any of the councilors would like to make?
Mayor, if I may, please.
You may.
So, segue from the derecho comments, I just want to recognize what the Catholic Heart Workshop did in our community last week. There were two local organizers. One of them's a coworker. So I don't know the intimate details, but that didn't happen overnight. So that took a lot of planning. She gave me some facts. There was 197 high school youth and chaperones here. Majority from the Midwest, very few actually from Iowa and as far away as New Hampshire. And they completed 37 projects during their week. So a lot of goodness to our community and help us get back on our feet a little quicker. So I'd like to say thank you and give them some appreciation.
You bet. You were being modest on behalf of your wife. I think that's the person you're probably talking to, because I saw that it was the Miller Middle School that was involved in getting those people into town and shepherding those at least at that middle school, right?
Yeah,
No?
Take no credit. They stayed at Miller, but it was CJ Scales and Bethany Jablonski who planned it. Yep.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm glad you named them, and but thanks to your wife and Miller Middle School too. I know they were all over town actually. I was getting inquiries, who are these people and what are they doing? And so I drove past to see one of the two school buses there. Wow, that was pretty cool, really. Anybody else have any good news or bad news or any news? Have you got anything, Madam City Administrator?
Yes, Your Honor. I would just like to remind everybody that this Saturday is Be Ridiculous Day in downtown. And while this is a promotional message for the MCBD, it's also a promotional message for Michelle and our Brownfields grant, as we have a technical assistance grant from the EPA to help us get some feedback from those attending Ridiculous Day, as well as online feedback currently about what is next for downtown and the empty lots that will be at Center and Main Street and Main and First Street. So please come and participate in getting some feedback that day.
Very good. Thank you. And before calling for the consent agenda motion to approve, I need to thank Mayor Pro Tem Mike Lodahoff, who's covered for me 2 meetings in a row in the 4 years and 7 months and 28 days that I've been doing this. I haven't ever missed 2 in a row like that. One was in Texas, the other was in Hawaii, both with family, and the Texas daughter is due to deliver on Sunday, so we're kind of waiting for the call any minute now. And we got to see our baby that was born June 6th out in Hawaii with our older daughter. So had a pretty good reason to be gone for those 2 meetings. But I understand Mike did a really nice job, and I sure appreciate what he does. Makes me want to threaten to quit here, except he gets a vote when he gets to be mayor pro tem. And so I'll keep slogging away at this, Mike, so you keep getting the vote. All right. Okay, thanks. Does anybody want to move to approve the consent? Nobody asked me to take anything off the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve all of those items?
I'd motion to approve, Your Honor.
Second.
Very good. Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Very good, thanks. Read those at your leisure and usual speed.
Approve the minutes for the July 11th meeting and the bill list in the amount of $1,829,862.71. Approve liquor license renewals for Impala Ballroom at 1005 West Lincoln Way, Best Western Regency Inn, Mojitos Restaurant, 3303 South Center Street, Depot Liquor and Grocery at 114 North Center Street. Receipt of the building permit report for June 2022. Civil Service new hire list for custodian. Resolution approving contract change order number 1 for the Elks Park project, a decrease of $12,040. Resolution setting a public hearing for the conveyance and transfer of title of 406 West Lynn Street to Lynn Street Properties LLC for $100. Resolution approving a temporary construction easement agreement with the Mobius Group for the demolition of 24 North First Avenue. Resolution approving a subaward agreement with the Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management for the installation of the generator at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Resolution setting a public hearing for the conveyance and transfer of title of 2.10 acres of land to Marshall County. Resolution ordering construction of the Marshalltown Water Pollution Control Plant Headworks and Digester Improvements Project, setting public hearing on proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost, and directing publication of notice to bidders. Resolution setting public hearing regarding the interlocal grant agreement for the Burn Justice Assistance Grant Program for $16,433, split 50% with Marshall County to assist with law enforcement programming or equipment purchases, notifying the public of the grant award and the proposed use of federal funds.
Very good, thank you. On to item F, resolutions. Looks like we have 4 of those listed, they're numbered that way. What's our first resolution?
Resolution allowing open containers on designated public ways for the 13th Street Harvest Market events.
Move for approval, Your Honor. Second.
Got it. Discussion.
So the 13th Street District has submitted their public use permit application, which staff have reviewed and approved. In the packet, you found a map of the event setup. They're requesting open containers to be allowed in the barricaded event area, and the 13th Street District will be the liquor license holder for this event, and their application is next up on the agenda.
Thank you. Council discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
Just going to say excited for this year. Pork tornadoes, acoustic stage, probably almost twice the amount of vendors, double the trucks. So we'll be a bigger and better event as it has been every year. And looking forward to it. I don't see any reason we don't want to support this.
Anybody else up here at the dais? I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce that. Public comment on this one? Roll call.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Oh.
Isom.
Yes.
That carried. Very good. Next resolution.
Motion to approve the 5-day special Class C liquor license with outdoor service for the 13th Street District Harvest Market events on September 8th and September 9th.
Move for approval, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion? That's where I was right before coming here, but it was to Lily Mae's for an ice cream cone, in case it was a long meeting. Any public comment on this one? Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Oh.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
That carried as well. Next one.
Resolution declaring certain property surplus and authorizing the sale of the 2005 Shadowmaster trailer to the Marshalltown Municipal Band.
Move for approval, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Thanks. Discussion.
Diana Steiner, Finance Director. So in my memo, I outlined kind of the background of the Marshalltown Municipal Band. It used to be under the city's domain, and back in 2016, we requested that they establish their own 501c3 to operate the band, and music and equipment was turned over at that time. However, the trailer was not, so I'm requesting that the trailer be turned over to them, sold to them for $1. And there's a letter in the packet requesting such. This is-
Council comment or questions? Any public comment? Roll call.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
That carried as well, and boy, that, when they play down at 13th Street, that just kind of brings the place back up to life, too. Next item then is a public hearing, right?
Public hearing and resolution approving plans, specifications, form of contract, and costs for the Marshalltown facade rehabilitation project in the city of Marshalltown, Iowa, being project number EC 021002.
I'll declare the public hearing is open at 5:42 PM. Did you get any written comments in your office?
No, Your Honor.
Time for public comments. Staff review.
Hey, Michelle Sponheimer, Housing Community Development Director. This is for the Downtown Revitalization Grant through the Iowa Economic Development Authority. This is a grant we've talked a lot about over the past year or two now almost, as we worked through the initial plans to apply, and then the final plans, which are now currently out for bid. We had our walkthrough last week. The proposed estimate cost of construction for this overall project with the alternates and contingency is $1,353,500. We include 4 storefront facades at the Staging to Sell building on the corner here, just down from us. It includes the building that the city owns at 21 West Main, in addition to the 2 next to it at 23 and at 19. Includes Smoke and G's as a participant, Stepping Stones, and Pence Appliance. So those are the properties that are included in the project overall to get facade renovations, including dealing with tuck pointing, and in our case of our building even includes a roof repair as well. So total project, the bids are due August 2nd at 11 a.m. And we'll be excited to see that come forward and have a final award for you following the submissions. Any questions?
Yeah, time for council comments. There aren't any. I will declare the public hearing is closed now at 5:43. Hard to get those any faster. Do you need any direction, any motion, or is that just to, it is a resolution? Okay, yep. Anybody want to move to approve the resolution?
I'd move to approve the resolution, Your Honor.
Thank you. There's a second. Very good. Roll call.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Very good. I'm starting to feel guilty about that ice cream cone because we're moving along pretty fast. Discussion item number 1 is what?
use of lost funds to purchase cabinets for the Veterans Gallery.
For this item, we will introduce Vic Helberg and Steve Storjahan, who were the 2 co-chairs of the Coliseum Fundraising Committee.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here and promote this. We want the cabinets to be in the Veterans Gallery area. There is room for 5 of them to be built there, and I think you've got pictures that were given to you today of what those might look like. Barry York is the cabinet maker that's going to do the work for us. The glass that's in it is going to be the kind that prevents any deterioration from any anything on the inside of that over display time like museums have, and that's nice. The Marshall County Historical Society, Michelle from there is going to be able to use that to display. She indicated to us that she has over 2.5 full rooms of veteran memorabilia at the Irvine Mansion that she would be able to display. So she's going to turn that over every so many months and do displays in there. It's also going to be able to have the shelving taken out, and we can put mannequins in there so that they can put the uniforms on that were back in World War I and II and in the different branches of the services, which is going to be nice. And the thing that I think is most important is that her insurance will cover everything that's in that, and they'll be lockable, and so we won't have to worry about if something ever happened to stuff there. It's under her insurance from the Historical Society. Does Steve have anything you want to add to that,
Yeah, I'd
Steve?
like to say a couple
Yep.
of things. When we contacted Barry York, he told us to go look at his work. So we did. We went to the First Methodist Church. He had built new doors on the east entrance and on the north entrance. And Vic and I were both impressed with his work. We have a first-class facility over there in the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. We didn't want a haphazard job on display cabinets. Like I say, we were very impressed with it. We're hoping that it will add to the Coliseum. We know it will. And we'll be proud of that part of it too. And that's pretty close to the last part that we have to do over there. We have to move a pop machine, which is no big deal, Jeff said.
Yep.
So that we're going to have Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard's been kind of, over the years, have been kind of pushed to the side. It hasn't been one of the main military organizations. But they did a job during wartime too. So they deserve to be recognized in this. So thank you, councilors, mayor, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before opening it up to the public, well, or the council and public for discussion, I just have to say, you two and Steve, your sister was involved in that committee to raise the funds.
Right.
Councilor Hoop not only was involved in the committee and working on it, but I remember sitting out here in the Jason Brown concert when he got up and wrote a big check for it. And I think Mike Gowdy was involved in it too. So recently, Vic and I were able to go past the Iowa Veterans Memorial Coliseum together, and we remarked about how beautiful it is and how nice it is on the inside. And I see our Park and Rec folks here, they've got it full and in use all the time. I've been to all sorts of meetings with different groups that are using it. It's just a showcase now. It really is. Thank you.
I would like to say also, if nobody has ever worked with Jessica or Jeff, they do a lot of behind-the-scenes work, and they did that with the fundraising for the Coliseum also. They did paperwork. They did. I can't. It's too numerous to mention. You probably wouldn't say anything anyway, but they did a tremendous job. They led us through the whole project, and we appreciate that very much. And a thank you to you and Jeff.
Yep.
Thank you. Super. Anybody up here like to comment or have any questions?
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Steve and Vic, I need you back at the mic. I'd like you to answer two questions for the public that are streaming the meeting so they know if we move this forward and bring it back as I'm assuming it's a resolution, correct? Okay. So the public knows, can you tell us for them the amount of money you're asking from us, and when would the cabinets, if we approve this, when would the cabinets be completed?
I don't know if I could answer the completed. I don't think he could order the parts until this amount is approved. The budget that will cover it is $43,000. It's just a little bit under that. will cover it, but I think he has to order all the things, and I think he thought it would take about 2 months to build them and then bring them over and install. So that's the best I could give you tonight without asking him. After we get the approval, sometimes supplies have not been as forthcoming as, so that's kind of would be the holdup.
The other thing would be that half of the money would go up front, and that is to purchase materials. He has a facility of his own, and he can take it from there, but he needs material finances.
Thanks. I just wanted you to make sure the public could hear all that. Thank you
Yep.
very much. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor.
You bet. Anyone else up here? And if not, anybody else out in the public like to comment about it? Okay. Would you like staff direction on this one?
Yes, I was looking for a motion and a second to bring back a resolution to the next meeting for use of local option sales tax for this project.
I would make that motion. I think this is a very worthy project in completing out the Veterans Coliseum, and bring it back to the next council meeting for approval.
Second.
Very good.
Your Honor, a question on that.
Okay.
Is there any money left in the Coliseum fund from it was all zeroed out, right?
Correct. It is tapped out. We did look at what alternative funding sources would be, and it would be trying to get it into next year's CIP and the CIP tax levy, and we just really didn't feel like that was going to be timely to complete this.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You bet. Roll call.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Very good. Next item of discussion is the Marshalltown Central Business District Wreath Replacement Project. Who wants to lead on this one?
Deb with the MCBD is going to take over this one.
Hi, good evening. It looks like you guys are going to have a short meeting tonight, and you'll be able to get out of here and enjoy your evening. Deb Millizer, I'm the director of the Marshalltown Central Business District. There's two things that I want to say before I talk about the Wreath Project, so I'm going to hijack you just a moment. One, I would like to piggyback off of what Steve and Vic have said about working with officials in the community, not only Jessica and Jeff, but I've had the delight of working with Heather on a few projects. I think that you have an ace with Heather. She's done a wonderful job when I've needed to work with her. Both Ricks, when I have needed them, reached out to them, they have helped me. Rick, and I always get Rick's last name wrong, Early, okay, that's it. I always get it wrong. He did a tremendous job getting all of our military banners up and coordinating that in a timely fashion. So I really appreciate that, and I know that you all probably heard the outpour of love for the banners as well. So I really appreciate Heather's coordination, Rick's coordination, and able to get those up. And then the other thing is, I just want to piggyback on what Jessica said about Be Ridiculous Day, and I hope that all of you will come down and enjoy some part of the day from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., including a concert. We are trying to create more events in the downtown that increase our joy in life. I'm missing my word here, but how we live in our community, how we feel about our community, how we interact with our community. And going off from that, I will talk about why I am here tonight. I'm coming here tonight to ask for your support with the MCBD Wreath Project. I want to give you a little bit of a backstory of how this project came about. For a while now, when we do the holiday stroll each year, we partner with it was Dave, but now Rick, to get the wreaths up in the downtown. And for the last couple of years, since I've been the director it'll be 3 years next week, we've talked about how, for lack of better words, weathered, ratty, tired looking our wreaths in the downtown look. We tried replacing the bows, we've tried to spruce them up, the lighting. We have trouble finding lights each year. Half of the wreaths are lit, the other half are not. It just becomes kind of a project just to get them lit, let alone to get them placed. Well, back in the spring of this year, I had a gentleman, Dave Grieve, who is from the MHS class of 82, approach me, wanted to do something for the downtown. He saw the state that our buildings were in. He lives in Yoder, Kansas, I believe it is. He came all the way back and sat down with me and asked what they could do for the downtown community. At first, he wanted to tackle the buildings, and I explained to him, hey, we got that handled, they're coming down, we got to figure out, what we're going to do with that space afterwards, but the buildings are coming down, we have cleanup days scheduled, or this, that. So he's like, what else can we do? And so I went to my board and I said, what can we do that we can have immediate results for? Our community has been through a lot. We're trying to revitalize and grow. We're trying to create aesthetics in the downtown where people want to be. What can we do that would have a high impact? And that we could do this year. So that's where the idea of the wreaths came from. So the wreaths are very visible. Each year when we hang them up in the downtown, people like to see the downtown lit up, but they always want more. So we did some research on the wreaths, and we were able to find, I think you guys have, I tried to make it fun. I know you guys get some handouts. It's just a bunch of words on it, and it's kind of boring, maybe some drawings, some other things. So I tried to make it kind of fun and show the personality that came along with this. Dave came back and he dressed up as a crusty Santa Claus, and we had a heyday. We went around in the downtown businesses and passed out lollipops. We created a video, and we really worked really hard to try to get the classes of 81, 82, and some other stakeholders to invest in our wreath fund. And we do have people that are interested and people that are investing. The issue is, in order for these wreaths to get here before our holiday stroll, they have to be ordered the 1st of August. So in 6 weeks, we have raised about $12,000. The total cost of the wreaths, including shipping, is about $20,000. So I am coming to you this evening to ask if you would help us with that last 8. I know that seems like a lot to ask. However, if you take it and you divide it by the number of years these wreaths should last, between 12 to 15 years, if we went with the 12-year mark, I'm really asking for about $670 a year for the next 12 years. For something that's going to create a nice aesthetic, a nice building block for more aesthetics in the downtown, we'd like to start with these. These go on every other pole. In a few years, or if we can find more funding, end up putting wreaths or some sort of decoration on every pole. We see other communities that are brightly lit during the holiday season and people want to be there and they shop. There is no reason why Marshalltown can't be one of those communities. We deserve to be beautiful. We've been through a lot. We are growing, revitalizing. We got lots of projects. We want people to live in the downtown. And even though wreaths seem like a small piece of the pie, it's an important piece of the pie when we come to the aesthetics of the downtown. So that is my ask for this evening. Do you have any questions of me?
Any council comments or questions?
Well, I hope you will consider bringing this back for a resolution.
Thanks, Deb. I should ask for public comment as well. Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to bring this back for a resolution.
I'll consider-
Second.
Very good. Okay. Let's call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom.
Yes.
Great, that carried as well. Staff has direction. Boy, those veterans banners really are nice around town too. They really are. It's a tribute to them, and this is the city in the whole state of Iowa that ought to have them, and we do. I sure am proud driving around town seeing those banners. All right, next item of discussion is compost gate fees.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. Tonight, I would like to discuss the compost fees, these specifically the gate fees. As there were discussions going on with the recent compost utility fee, we went ahead and paused this discussion about the master fee and the annual updates to those fees. So with that resolution previously resolved, we'd like to bring back a recommendation for changes to the gate fees. In front of you tonight, included in the packet and also previously emailed out, we went through kind of an analysis of the costs of our compost fee in relation to handling the debris and what to do with it. Previously, we had a lot of burning and those types of things which were acceptable. However, times have changed and we're no longer able to do that like we once were. Marshalltown has experienced a lot of things in the last 4 or 5 years. The tornado in 2018, derecho in 2020, and actually a positive in this year. We were the recipients of about $70,000 of assistance to the compost facility because they needed our material for the avian flu. So there have been a lot of things that make the financial outlook of the compost facility different in the last 4 years than what we'll see going forward. So with that, I want to highlight a couple of the analysis that we did in relation to chipping, grinding, and hauling out the material. Currently, we contract that out sometimes twice a year, and it is at a rate of, here we go, about $7.70 a cubic yard. So what we did is we looked at the material coming in and the vehicles that are coming in, and we tried to equate what the cost of this is for us to get rid of that material. And the last 3 slides of this PowerPoint kind of looks at each of those types of things, like a truck. When a truck comes in, currently our gate fee for a pickup, less than an 8-foot bed, is about $10 for a gate fee. It costs us roughly $17 to $20 if that was a truly full load. So I'm going to call that a full load scenario. What we're doing is we've reviewed all of the current items in our compost gate fee and evaluated that based on dump trucks, single axle, tandem axle, and did a very similar analysis for all of those. You'll see our gate fees for a lot of these larger trucks. A medium truck for say is currently a gate fee of $50, cost of $51, request of $65. Semi trucks current cost gate fee of $150, cost of disposal of $180, recommending to $200. So that's kind of the cost of just disposal of the material. Doesn't cover cost of the labor that's out there at the gate attendant and those types of things. But what we've realized, especially as we get to some of the trailers and the larger loads being brought in by contractors, is that that gap is really getting wide, where the cost of us to get rid of that material is significantly more than the costs we're bringing in at the gate. So that's kind of the analysis and some of the background that we did to evaluate our recommendations for the gate fee. With that, I will go to our proposed changes. We are recommending the far right column to go for proposed gate fees, and this shows our current fee. As you can see, a lot of the changes are coming in those larger loads, like I mentioned. I could go over any of these if anybody has questions at this time, but I'd like to open it up for discussion. What I'm looking for tonight is concurrence from you guys that you'd like this brought back in a recommendation to adjust our gate fees in this manner based on the full loads that we would charge. We do, if there's a break to be given, want to give those to residents, and so that's why you'll see just for a standard pickup bed, even though I talked about maybe our cost being about $20, if that's truly a full load, we're only recommending to $15 on that. We feel not every load is going to be a full load that comes in the door, but that is what we have to charge off of. So with that, I'd open up for questions related specific to disposal fees.
Council comments or questions?
Heather? If I have a pickup with an 8-foot bed,
Yep.
if I bring it in half full,
So my recommendation on that, because this happens a lot. So right here in the bottom, I said, in cases where a trailer or bed is clearly less than 50% utilized, I'd like the compost attendant to have that ability and that discretion to reduce to a lower fee. Because you're right, I don't want to penalize somebody for bringing in a 14-foot trailer and having one tree on it versus a 14-foot trailer that's heaping overloaded. It's not economical for us to put in a scale or do any type of a measurement calculation on cubic yard basis. So this is the best way that we have right now, is based on the type of truck or trailer coming in to bill the gate fee for. So yes, we'd like to leave that as an option and discretion for our compost attendants.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Your Honor, if I may?
You may.
Heather, to follow up on what Mike said, I have never gotten a complaint from a citizen about the cost of any vehicle. 100% of the complaints are the inconsistency of the vehicles that aren't full. And that's, do you feel confident with the employees you have that you can address that where there's some kind of consistency? So it's either going to be a half charge or a full charge, is that correct?
Not necessarily. One of the things I'd like the public to realize is that the gate attendants are seasonal employees that we have. They make $9 an hour. We do try to provide them the training and the discretion and those type of things. They're human. Please bear with us. If there is an issue, you're welcome to reach out to myself or Rick Legg if there is an issue like that. I would like to use this PowerPoint as part of that training to our compost attendants. These have pictures of trailers, and it's very cleared out and spelled out, this is the length of the trailer, but I'm going to leave it at only in cases where the trailer is less than 50%. Do they have that ability to reduce the charge to help with that inconsistency? I realize that means some people may try to fight that a little bit as far as what they're getting charged, but it's not really practical, and it's not a good expectation of myself to have of our staff, that they are look at each one and say, oh, you're about 75% charge in full. So that's what I would ask.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that. And then, do you want to move on to the outgoing or not get into that
Sure.
yet?
You bet. If there's nothing more questions on the disposal, there are two changes I would like to make on product sale side of things. Right now, I'm not currently recommending any changes on the sale of compost material. I like to make those recommendations based on facts, and I just don't have that data in front of us that I can make an educated recommendation. I would like to make recommendations as far as mulch goes and firewood goes. With the way that we dispose of material right now, if we have tree trunks, those are the hardest material to get rid of, the most volume, the stuff that takes the chipping and those kind of things. Right now we charge for firewood, unprocessed firewood. People can come in and cut firewood. I'd like to remove that requirement. Right now it costs us a lot of money to get rid of that. If that can be reused by a member of the public and they can do it at their own risk, I have no issues with them coming and doing that. So I am recommending the removal of a charge for people to come in and get firewood. They are not allowed to split firewood on site or anything like that. They can come get material. There is still a loading charge if they need a piece of equipment to load a trunk or blocks into the back of their truck or trailer. They are allowed to get there. They have to access it. We're not going to pull the material out for them. So same rules apply as it always has been. But I am recommending the removal of a fee to load firewood. On the mulch side of things and chip material, right now we kind of have two things going on. We have a processed mulch, which means it's chipped debris, but we run it through our shaker and our screen, and it kind of gets out some of the larger limbs and stuff that are in that material. The need and desire from the public for that material has really kind of gone away for the processed piece, and the reason part of it is that we have unprocessed material. So some of the commercial contractors that come in and bring in chipper trucks, they have chipped mulch, and people are very happy with that. It's kind of like you have a low quality mulch and a high quality mulch. Our processed stuff was somewhere in between, so I don't really think that market is there. We would like to continue to provide that unprocessed mulch as available at no charge for people to come and that's how it has been today as well, although it hasn't been reflected very well and communicated very well. So those are the two changes that I'm recommending on product sales.
Just got a question about insurance. So people, our insurance is okay with people coming in and collecting their own wood out of potentially dangerous piles and things like that?
We do note that it is at their own risk. I'm not aware of this being an issue in the past. It's absolutely something we can verify with our insurance, but at their own risk, I think does provide some protection to the city.
I can verify, it's in my 5 years of being here, we've never had sort of a loss control review of this, but that's something that we can certainly ask about to make sure they're okay and see what recommendations they'd have.
Other council comments or questions? Any public comment on this one?
Your Honor, I have a question.
You bet.
When would you propose to implement
Yeah.
the start of this fee schedule?
We would ask for council direction on that. If we have a recommendation, it's much easier to make a large change, especially in some of the gate fees at the beginning of the compost facility. So that would be a January 1st implementation date of these changes. I know I've heard different opinions from the council, and so, we'll implement whichever direction the council provides. But I do ask that that be part of your guys' motion this evening for a start date for the new gate fees.
Anyone else up here? Anyone in the public?
I just want to thank Heather. That's an excellent report. I was reading through it, and there's two parts to this equation. There's the gate fees, and then there's the product getting sold out the back door. That's one part we're not talking about right now because you don't have all the numbers yet, okay? But that part also says that the stuff that we're selling is in such high demand that we're holding some of that back so that we don't run out. Well, if I'm a business guy and I know supply and demand, if my demand is too high, I raise my price, and that cuts down the demand on the back end, but it generates more revenue to prevent us from raising the fees on the front end. So we don't have all the information yet to make a good decision on this, in my opinion. And I think we should look at that back end to help reduce the fees on the front end for the public. Thanks.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
Heather, what is keeping you from getting that information that Mr. Eaton just brought up and you alluded to earlier?
Right. The amount of information we have as far as the cost of us doing and making compost, the man hours and the labor that we use to put into that, I don't have that compiled. It's not something we've tracked in the past. So that would be something that we'd be looking at to do moving forward. To just get a rough idea. I'm not saying this would be tracked every single day, but we want to do at least a screenshot of that. Mr. Eaton mentioned, that we do have a high demand. That is absolutely correct. That is why we restrict it. We don't allow contractors to come in with large trucks. We're really trying to reserve that for residents.
And how long would you need? What's your base time to gather what you feel comfortable with is being able to know what your average is?
Yeah, we're kind of at a unique position right now. The compost that we have out there right now, it's basically all spoken for. We're in the process of processing new, but we had such a high demand that we're kind of, I don't want to say ran out, but we really did have to kind of clamp down on what we needed for that. A lot of that did have to do with the avian flu again, because the unprocessed compost was able to be used for those types of things. We did receive an income from that sale of that as well as finished compost, but we are at a very low level right now. So I would be looking at making these data collections at the next compost facility next season.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anyone else? Want a resolution to come back with a formal resolution to address on a future meeting?
Yeah, I think we're just looking for some direction here, that this was something we had held off on pending the discussion of the compost fee. And so we've got it back here tonight and just looking for some reaction and direction from the council.
Your Honor, may I make one more comment?
You may.
just thinking through the January 1 start date, just want to make it clear that we're halfway through our fiscal year, and this is attempting to address roughly a $30,000 gap. So we're putting all that burden on the second half of the year. I don't know if that changes, but something we need to consider.
I'd make a motion for a resolution as written with the January 1st start date.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's call the roll.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
No?
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a follow-up motion behind this. When we were talking about the free at the gate debate, there were a lot of people in town that were holding off and waiting for the gate to be free, that they brought that to my attention. I was hoping that we could bring back a resolution. We've done this in the past when we had the natural disasters. People are still digging out of the derecho. I'd like to make a motion that the compost facility be free for 2 consecutive weeks, and I would leave that at the discretion of Heather to decide with her staff if that's in August or September. But I would put that motion on the table, Your Honor.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Anybody want any further discussion? If not, let's call the roll on that one.
Your
Aye.
Honor.
I just, one comment, undermines the very objective of what we're trying to accomplish, so I don't know how this makes sense, but I'll be voting no for that very reason, which is to address the general fund deficit, which is we continue to try to tackle and continue to try to ignore.
Heather, you were approaching.
Yeah,
the
I would
mic.
just like some direction, if that's the direction, council, if we're proposing to use cash on hand as the revenue replacement for the expenses that we incur as getting that material. Just want to clarify that that's the intent.
Let's go and call the roll.
Isom,
No.
Kell,
No.
Lottie Hoff,
No.
Schneider,
No.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Hoop.
Okay. I think staff has direction on that topic. Let's go on to the automated traffic enforcement question.
Good evening. Chris Jones, Captain of Operations for the Police Department. I've been asked over the last several weeks to look into and work with council members on a proposal or some direction on automated traffic enforcement. Traffic speeding concerns within our community are an ongoing complaint that we receive on a regular basis. Both the chief and I receive phone calls of different areas, and for the last several years, I've been responsible for moving our speed trailer and utilizing our speed trailer to certain neighborhoods within our community to try to regulate speed during certain times. One of the things that we are a little deficient on is the follow-up part of that. And as we put that speed trailer in certain neighborhoods to try to bring awareness to people because of staffing concerns and the availability of being able to conduct speed enforcement in some of these areas and neighborhoods where people are speeding, it's been very difficult for us to follow up with the enforcement option. So as part of the discussion, I've worked with Mr. Walker, Mr. Lottie Hoff, and Mr. Hoop at looking at different types of options that could supplement our community's ability to provide enforcement and different ways that other communities have used to help regulate and decrease the amount of speeds and crashes within their communities. So I just kind of would like to kind of open up that discussion, and I can try to facilitate as much as I can.
Okay, floor is open.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
to give a little bit of background on the direction that we've been taking behind the scenes. After the last discussion we had, I volunteered, as well as Councilman Lady Hoff, to kind of gather together and meet with our police team to kind of look at what our current state is regarding safety and community complaints regarding speeding trends in Marshalltown, and then to also kind of inform ourselves a little bit more about what the options are and what other similar sized cities and larger are doing across the state to try and help with this issue. I got together with Mike for a one-on-one to kind of lay out some of the questions that we had regarding what does contracting look like, what does protecting the privacy of those who would be monitored by a system like this look like, what kind of training would need to be provided to our police force for this to be able to be moved forward, what is the burden of cost for our community, and what sort of things would any generated funds be able to be eligible for use. And through that discussion and good conversations with our police station, and then bringing on Councilman Hoop for his insight and guidance, I thought it was really helpful to have a contractor visit with us at police headquarters to share some of the trends that they've seen in other communities. Like Marshalltown, excessive speeds diminish a community's ability for safe commuting on bicycles. It diminishes the ability of the police force to be spread out and effective, going after all the things that are higher priority, or just not having the resources. A lot of times we talk about, as a council and a community, about we only have so many officers doing so many good things. But I thought that having the consultants come in and share with us some of the trends that they've seen in other similar sized communities like Muscatine or Cedar Rapids or Des Moines, and what has happened is not so much a burden of punitive enforcement as much as a very clear trend in decreased accidents and decreased speeds in communities. And over time, as the culture of driving shifts within communities, slower speeds throughout, which is the ultimate goal. And I think that this is an opportunity for Marshalltown to kind of achieve some of our goals around being a safe community that is welcome for folks on their bicycles, that has a vibrant downtown where people are moving back and forth on foot, enjoying all the things that Marshalltown has to offer. And if there's anything that we can do to support our police and the good work that they're doing besides sitting in their car monitoring speeds at high-risk intersections, I'm for it, especially because, as we've researched, there isn't an initial cost to our community to using these contractors, and even of added importance, there isn't a quota that needs to be met in order to justify these contractors wanting to work with us, meaning we don't have to put it in a certain area and just run it until we get X amount of tickets. We can really be strategic and using this tool alongside communication strategies from the police department to emphasize that this is a safety strategy, and we can partner it with the trailer that's already giving us some information about speeding with our community. So we have kind of a dual effect of both monitoring, enforcement, and even more, I really liked that there was the ability for us to have a warning period as our community gets used to this increased tool use. Meaning, if we start using this for a first amount of time, we do not need to be billing our citizens. We need to inform them that this kind of tool is going to be used, and hopefully that as word of mouth spreads, as social media amplifies, everyone really gets the picture that this isn't a street racing town. This is a community that values safety and the use of our community, not just for auto pedestrians, but every pedestrian. And I would like the idea of promoting safety in that way. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And one of the things that we discussed was this speed enforcement strategy. And it's the use of our social media, it's our use of our public contacts, our use of our speed trailer to take a look at some of these high traffic, high complaint areas and go out, put the speed trailer down, allow the awareness period, whether it's a week or 2 weeks, promote that area of town where we're receiving those complaints, and then supplement that with photo enforcement, a photo enforcement option. And then we would move that speed trailer to another critical area within our community and just kind of follow that area up. Our job right now would be just to educate the community on some of these critical areas. And I would say there's probably about 24 that we get regular calls on that are very difficult for officers to do enforcement. Many of them are transition areas where the speed changes from 45 to 35 or 25. But a lot of them don't have areas where we can park a vehicle or an officer can sit and do regular enforcement. Sometimes they're not practical. We receive complaints, for example, at the Veterans Home at 7 o'clock during our shift change when people are coming down Jerome Street or Summit Street to get to work. So the people in these neighborhoods are very, very passionate about the speed limits that are posted in our neighborhoods, and we want to do everything that we can to try to enforce those and provide at least a strategy to at least educate the community on what those speed limits are and that we take it seriously.
Your Honor, if I may. I think one of the things that we looked at was there's two different types. One is it goes in a car and you park the car, or on a trailer, or it's in a trailer, a self-enclosed trailer. And by following the police's recommendation, we decided to go with the trailer because it's easier to park in certain areas where a car, like he mentioned, you just can't. I think it's also important to remember the system that we looked at. A police officer will be looking at every single ticket and signing every single ticket after reviewing it to make sure it meets the criteria for being a ticket. Now, the one thing that I think we're going to need some guidance from the council here is the chief also asked for 3 to 5 fixed intersection cameras. And that's something that we hadn't brought up before, and I think we'd like to get, as a committee, some guidance from the other counselors on that. Is that something, there's 3 to 5 intersections that are pretty costly, and if the council would be interested in doing that along with the speed camera that's mobile.
May I follow up with a question? So that would not be part of the lease. That would be us purchasing the equipment, the fixed cameras?
No, none of the equipment would cost us any money.
The suppliers and the contractors that we had spoke with, they supply all of the equipment. They provide all of the processing of the complaints. The only thing that the police department would be responsible for is approving whether the citation should be issued or not. The companies then issue the citation, and then they take care of all the mailing. One of the other things that you would need to consider is what happens when somebody doesn't pay for a ticket. Most of the companies that I spoke to for a limited amount of time will deal with the collections, but after that, most of the time the city will have to go to some civil remedy to be able to take care of those citations that aren't being paid.
Your Honor, 2 questions.
You bet.
So I guess I'd be curious as to what percentage in some of the communities are unpaid and require a civil remedy. And then I guess the second would be is the intersections in question, I assume, are high target intersections where we've had accidents and other such. I mean, I assume those are why they're target intersections, or why are those target intersections?
Now, photo enforcement comes in really a couple options. You have speed and then stop sign or stoplight enforcement. So we're just looking specifically at speed enforcement, not stoplight or stop sign enforcement at this time. The fixed options would be in an area where we believe that there's a continuous cause for speed. And some communities, for example, if they have a large highway that goes through a small community, they'll put a fixed option there. And they've, from what I've spoken to with the contractors, that they've seen 75 or 80 or more % decrease in speed through those areas through time. when we were talking about the amount that have been not processed, there's a couple different options that the city can go forward with. One of them is just to have a flat fee that the person can pay or not. There's also an incentive with some communities where they will charge a certain fee for a speeding ticket, and that if somebody chooses to pay that ticket, and that the fee is actually less the overall. So you get like an incentive to pay it on time or before. And then if they don't, then there's an additional, they would have to pay the full charge for the amount of speed. The speeding actually is tiered depending on how fast or over the speed limit, and the contractors allow us to make a determination on where to make that cutoff. So it's not just specifically right at the speed zone, but we can, as the council or direction, we can make that speed cutoff, anything you choose.
I'm sorry.
Can I add a little color to that? Being, I was caught pretty recently with a fixed camera in a small community, and the ticket actually was sent to who we financed the vehicle through. So the bank is who paid it, and then obviously I had to reimburse the bank for it. So I don't know if there's multiple models there, but I didn't physically have to pay anything to the community. And obviously there's some incentive to make sure you don't go delinquent on a car loan as well.
Yeah, and the question I was going to ask was, is it identified to the driver or to the license plate? I mean, my mother-in-law, God bless her soul, I just loved her. She's dead now, but she got caught running a red light behind a semi-truck, and it was absolutely dead to rights. Caught. She called my wife, who was a lawyer, you know, I didn't do it. What are we going to do? Sharon looked at it, and the picture of her in her car was almost like Tom Apgar had taken it as a portrait. I mean, you could see the little beauty mark she had right there. So she got the ticket. She paid it, you know, as she should have. But that raises exactly the same question I was just going to ask. Is this going to be isolated to the driver or to the vehicle?
The vehicle plates and information,
okay.
yes.
I think that's what they're doing in Des Moines now, the
Yes.
two spots that I slowed down for.
Yes,
Yeah,
true.
okay. Interesting.
I believe the enforcement we're looking at, I believe they said that it can cover up to 5 lanes of traffic with one camera. Also, the vendor will be responsible for putting up the signs outside of town. This is radar patrolled, you know, be aware or not. But I think they also do all the upgrades for all the cameras, everything like that. So cost out of pocket, it doesn't cost the city anything.
The requirement would be to look at a contract, whether it's 3 or 5 or more years, what the city would choose. And what we understand is if any legislative changes come about that outlaw that there would be a stipulation that we would cancel that contract, and they do understand that. One of the vendors that we did speak to, he has a business here in Iowa. The overall business isn't here in Iowa, but they have a subsidiary in Marion that they're building. So those are other options that we can take advantage of. The company that we spoke with will cater to our community in exactly what we want, and they'll construct it using their engineering exactly the way that we need it. And one of the things that came up was, what type of enforcement, whether it was fixed or mobile. And my support was always towards a mobile trailer, very similar to the trailer that we have, because it's very easy to park. And I can always find somebody in a neighborhood to be able to park that on the terrace versus have it alternate parking. When we have a vehicle, we would have to go out and switch parking on both sides of the road. Sometimes it would be difficult to get in areas like Westwood or Main Street. One of the concerns we have is by the bike path on Main Street where the speed limit changes from 45 to 35. But those are areas that we were easily put the trailer, and we've been able to utilize our speed trailer in those places. So we would look at a piece of technology that was very, very similar to what we have because it's working right now.
It seemed like Windsor Heights had a lot of publicity when they were addressing the speed cameras. Are they using them now? Do you know?
I think they're currently very limited in use
Okay.
right now.
To build on that comment, one of the things that the state of Iowa does regulate is when you place equipment on their highways, and that was what Windsor Heights was trying to
Right.
do. And so the recommendation is not to place anything on a state-owned highway. That is not an area that we want to dabble in where you have to deal with the state regulations on that front.
Thank you.
How would this stop street racers? Because wouldn't they just take one pass and see the camera's not there and just continue with their race?
It would be difficult to do that. Other than the tiered system, if we did catch them, the fines would be fairly substantial.
These don't go, that don't affect your license?
No,
And
they
then
do not.
A follow-up on that is how will this impact regular speed enforcement with police officers that they do affect license? Because I'd imagine the people that we really want to stop are the very fast habitual drivers that we still need to take their license away if that's what it comes to.
Yeah, this is not designed for us to supplement completely our enforcement strategy. It's just, we still have state projects and government subsidized projects that we do for traffic enforcement. It just provides us an opportunity to hit some of those areas for longer periods of time on a steady basis rather than sporadic, either through the day or throughout the week. Really, the time that it would take to put the trailers out is really less significant than it is to take officers away from what they're doing on a regular basis, and especially in an emergency or if we're short-staffed, to be able to take calls for service. It is not going to change our emphasis on trying to get staff out to write tickets and do enforcement in other areas, but where we have the photo enforcement, we can put those officers in other areas or areas like, say, for example, Highway 14 or Center Street, where we still have a speeding problem and 4 lanes where we can concentrate on other parts of town.
Your Honor, if I may. Mm-hmm. Captain Jones, I don't want you to answer this, but I don't want the public to be told an answer to this question, but wouldn't you set the parameters for the trailer or the fixed assets for the buffer over the speed limit is the same as what the staff does right now? And I don't want you to say, we let you go this fast. You said earlier that to be decided. Wouldn't you set them the same?
That would be my recommendation, yes.
And then would it be a cheaper alternative on some of these areas where they're speeding? Wouldn't it be cheaper to put stop signs every 3 blocks?
Impractical. There you go.
Heather wants to answer that.
I know what Heather's going to say about how many we have per cap for this size of city and the number of blocks and roads, but go for it.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. I would like to, on behalf of the Public Works Department, express a ton of support towards this. It's very difficult to take concerns from the citizens because they have people speeding through their neighborhoods and they're asking me to put stop signs at those intersections. From a traffic engineering perspective, putting stop signs out to control speed is not the recommended approach. So severe support for something like this as a tool in our toolbox. Thank you.
Captain Jones, how did I know she was going to say that? Hey, one last question.
Yep.
People are going to call me tomorrow. This is not a money-making process for us. This is a safety, is what we're being told. How much will the city make on this?
I can't determine a fixed amount. It's difficult even talking with other communities. I don't believe any other community is looking at the same strategy we are using with the speed trailer, and that's not our intent. Our intent is to change driving behavior. Our intent is to slow people down in certain areas and to utilize this as a supplemental enforcement strategy. It's not financial.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You bet.
One other comment I just want to let people know, or at least the community know, people that are given the citation is a civil citation, so it does not go on your driving record. It does not affect your insurance. It is just a civil infraction, essentially, that they'd be responsible for.
Very good. Any other consular questions or comments?
Last question for me. Say we decided this was what we wanted to do. What does that look like from an implementation if we said let's go?
Right now, we need to look specifically at a couple different agencies that are doing traffic enforcement, photo enforcement throughout the state. I've looked at 3 vendors that have a majority of the stake in the state of Iowa. 2 of them are very substantial in communities throughout the state. We would need to look at specific ordinance, and then we would need to look at the process of how we're going to move forward with maybe dealing with people that aren't going to pay, and then the vendors will be able to help us with that. But what they had said is it will be at least 6 to 9 months, more than likely, with the system that we set up to move forward.
Thank you. Okay. Let's open it up to the public.
My name is Mike Lupi. I live at 1912 South 3rd Avenue, and I have been in the process of talking to a couple of council members, and I've been in communication with Heather about placing stop signs in my neighborhood. We have, I live on South 3rd Ave. I am pretty much directly right in between the high school and Hoagland Elementary, and the speeds are scary all the time, year round. High school kids race up and down the street. I observe people texting on their phones while they're going 45. I'm a retired science teacher, so I know how to do some rates and speed estimates, and they're pretty scary. I have 11-year-old twins, and there are at least 15 small children in that area, and I am deathly afraid that we're going to look at a tragedy very soon in our neighborhood. I've asked about placement of stop signs, and Heather's told me that that's not the best way to reduce speed. Last summer, the police department had some extra funds to bring officers in early to write speeding tickets, and I had called numerous times. South 3rd Ave wrote the 2 officers, Officer Baldazzo and Officer Hunt, at the time, wrote something like 9 or 10 tickets in an hour on South 3rd Ave, and 2 days later, people were speeding. So I would be very much in favor of anything that would help reduce that, and if it's mobile, I'll be the first one to volunteer. You can put it on my terrace to slow things down. But this was, as a community member sitting here waiting to ask for stop signs, I would certainly be in favor of this as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mike Tupper, Marshalltown Police Department. So I want to thank Chris for all of his work on this project. He's worked very hard on this project, and I'm very proud of the work that he's put in. So, to the point about stop signs, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've learned long ago that stop signs do not slow people down. If you have too many stop signs, it actually speeds people up, makes the problem worse. So, and I am strongly in favor of doing something with automated traffic enforcement. And I strongly support the mobile option, but I have some interest in fixed. And so it wouldn't necessarily be intersections per se, but I think about places like the street the gentleman just mentioned. That is a chronic problem for us. I think about Lincoln Way, I think about West Main, I think about Westwood, I think about South Street, places that we know we have chronic problems. South 6th Street, where we know we have racers. Those might be locations for fixed options, but I think if we're going to do anything, mobile is the way to start, and we'll see how it goes. And we don't know anything about how much revenue it'll generate, and I'm not really interested in that. This is about safety for me, and it's about supplementing our police officers' efforts to reduce speed, educate the public about the dangers of speed, and deal with important quality of life and public safety issues. So you all can decide what happens with the revenue. I think this is an important project. And I think that as a community, we've always embraced technology to help supplement the work that our city staff is doing. And this is an opportunity for us to embrace technology to enhance safety in our community. And the last thing that I'll say about traffic enforcement, we're not going to stop doing traffic enforcement. Traffic enforcement is something I'm very passionate about, and our police officers will continue to conduct traffic stops. But traffic enforcement and conducting traffic stops is one of the most dangerous things that a police officer can do. And so if we can use technology to our advantage to help our police officers address a problem in the community, but also diminish the risk that they're taking every day, I think that's a win-win. So we're happy to answer any questions, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us.
Your Honor, I have a question for Chief. Chief, I'm not sure if this is for you or for Captain Jones. The conversation tonight has been about one mobile and then some fixed. Is there, the vendors, are they against giving us more mobiles?
They're not against that, but I think that the suggestion has been, let's start with one and see how it goes. Yeah.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Your Honor.
And you told Chris not to answer the question, but I think it's an important question to answer about the threshold of speed, okay? So as a police officer, I have a lot of discretion on what I will allow in terms of how far you go over the speed limit, okay? And so I'll tell you, back when I was a real cop, because I'm not a real cop anymore, but back when I was a real cop, my threshold before I would even stop you was usually 10 miles over the speed limit, okay? Some officers, if you're talking the state patrol, I'm telling you, they're going to have a much lower threshold. Okay, but some officers have a different threshold. But most communities are very transparent about their photo enforcement threshold, and usually it's 11 miles per hour over the speed limit. So if you live in a residential neighborhood, 25, and we put a mobile device or a fixed device in your neighborhood, 36 is the threshold. That's pretty darn fast.
I think that's what they're using in Des Moines right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, so every community that I'm aware of, they're very public about the threshold that they use. And I would recommend, I think transparency is a good thing. I think we should tell the public what our threshold will be. And my recommendation will be 11.
I just thought it was the cops that, like Chevys, would write the tickets to the Fords and the. Okay. Interesting. Any other public comment or other comment in general? You may.
Would you recommend doing, say, 3 of the fixed units?
Well, I would recommend that we have more discussion about where you might like to see those, because I know you all hear about problem spots too. But I'm very passionate about mobile. If you're supportive, I think we need to have a serious discussion about 3 to 5 locations where we might put fixed.
Because I think if we're going to do one, we ought to do the other. Because it's, to me, we're going to have some areas like around the high school that you can't just park that mobile every single day. So I guess I would say bring it back, or I would bring back 1 mobile and 3 fixed.
That's emotional. Second it to move forward with that recommendation.
Is that 1 mobile in addition to the one we have right now?
Yeah, the trailer that we have now, though, does not enforce. It just we can collect data. So the mobile device would actually be something that's writing you tickets.
So we'll actually have our old mobile plus this new mobile?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
So the next step would be that we would contact vendors and start soliciting RFPs for the work, if that's the direction you're giving us.
I'm going to take it as a motion, and it's been seconded to have the research go forward to check about that and look to start at 1 new mobile and 3 fixed.
May I ask a question
May.
about, does the mobile that writes ticket look like our mobile that just checks speeds?
I saw a couple different pictures. One of them looked like a trailer. The other one looked like just a device you set in the grass almost. Yeah.
I echo that. One looked like an actual trailer, and one looked like a big pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we camouflage it?
Go ahead. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry. The vendor that we spoke to said that they would construct anything, any way that we wanted it to look, and supplement those with extra batteries. And one of the concerns we have with our current trailer is it's solar powered, so I can leave it out there for days at a time, where this uses a lot more energy, and we would have to come up with a system or engineer a system to be able to make that work for a week or 2 at a time.
I just like the idea of camouflage, that if they looked alike, people aren't going to know.
Well, part of it is we want people to know, and we want people to slow down. So the fixed options would just be in areas in town where you would want to leave those, but I think it would be important to reach out to community members too and let them understand that, we're looking at a constant, continuous enforcement, because that would be 24 hours a day. But the companies that we spoke to would be responsible for all the infrastructure that's related to the installation and maintenance of all that equipment. And legitimately, the only thing that would be the cost would be the administrative cost of approving those citations as they come through, and the administrative cost of following up with people that failed to pay for those citations.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's call the roll.
Schneider,
No.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff.
Yes.
Okay, staff has its direction.
Your Honor,
Yes.
now that we brought that to come back as a resolution, contracts are always never open-ended, is that correct?
Well, I would say that wouldn't come back as a resolution. That is staff direction for putting together a request for proposal to go out. Yep.
So part of that proposal would be the contract would have a termination date.
Yeah, we could put in a specified termination date as well as leave it open to what they recommend based on industry practice.
Okay, very good. Let's go into public comment before we do the closed session. And for that, members of the public may make comments on any item that was not on the agenda. Approach the mic, give your name and address, limit your comments to 3 minutes unless I authorize more. Direct the comments to the mayor and council as a whole. And we, mayor and councilors, shall not engage in discussion or debate those items raised by the public in order to avert any open meetings law non-compliance questions. With that said, the microphone is open.
Okay, just real quick, again, Mike Tupper, Marshalltown Police Department. So I was off for about 3 weeks dealing with a medical issue, and Chris Jones did a fantastic job of steering the ship, and I just want to publicly thank him for everything that he did and does for us every day, quite frankly. I rested well and slept well knowing that Chris was in charge. He is a rock star and does a great job for us, and we are underpaying him, and we need to fix that someday soon. But Chris did a great job. And as you know, Chris has been working on another project that deals with the pawn shop ordinance. And the last time we were here to discuss that ordinance with you, we said we would be back first meeting in August with some follow-up information. We need a little more time. So we're not going to be back the first week in August. I talked to Chris today, and we're going to shoot for the second meeting in August, so I think that's August 22nd. But we will be back with some additional information. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. You know, those of us that sit up here know this stuff because we see what Chris does in the community and with several different things that he's done over the years. But it's nice to hear that from you as a supervisor, but it's also nice for the public to hear this. By the way, I got a call last week from somebody connected with the school district, not the superintendent, just to call to praise city staff. They had an issue about a crosswalk out there with the street that we were kind of in charge of, but is owned by the school district. And our staff person got a call on Friday. When would you like to meet? I'll be there at 7 a.m. on Monday. And he was, and he got it handled. And so this person was, a day or two after it happened, he just had, when it was after the weekend, he called up on Monday to tell me, I just got to tell you, Greer, this staff person was great, and we get those calls up here, and we get a lot more of them than we do about people that are complaining about city staff. So, thanks for that comment, and thanks, Chris, for what you do too. And Chief, I hope things are going well with you. Good to see you back though too. I'm talking too much. Anybody else like to talk? If not, we need to go into closed session, so I'd entertain a motion to do so.
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there
Second.
a second? Oh, okay, sure. I thought you had to go to the bathroom. Okay. Roll call.
Kell?
Oh, that's right, yeah, that's right. And so I assume that motion included the reason is we have to go to closed section, Iowa Code Section 21.5, in order to discuss purchase or sale of real estate where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the